Hello everyone, I'm Maddie Hooper and I'm a sophomore here at USC. Today I'll be discussing something that is a fundamental element on our earth that everyone needs to survive: food. Food is constantly around us and we are constantly reminded of it on a daily basis. Whether it's advertisements for fast food or grocery stores or a stomach rumbling when we are hungry, food is everywhere around us. Due to the constant reminders of food, more people today eat more than ever before. Advertisements for food in restaurants have psychological effects to humans and make them think they are hungry when in reality their body has plenty of nutrients. Since we have easy access for food and are reminded constantly about food, our obesity rate has gone up globally. According to Time magazine, 30% of the adult population around the world is obese. And in 2018, 32.2% of the adult population was obese in just the US. Dieting, which is limiting oneself to certain foods and the amount of food they need in order to lose weight, has become popular due to the increasing obesity rates. Another popular concept that has arisen from the massive demand of food production is food safety regulations. Food safety protects consumers eating food from foodborne illnesses and from other risks of health such as allergies in food or even death. In today's video, I'll be discussing how processed food is a factor in obesity, the health and hunger of our global world, food safety and how food safety affects fast food, the public health of our globe, and the significance to why knowing all of this is important to humans that live on Earth. As I mentioned in my introduction, the food industry has shifted in ways that promote overeating. Highly caloric and fat-laden foods are not only affordable but easily accessible. These highly palatable foods are frequently available in large portions, which contribute to the increased daily calorie intake. Not only having commercial portion sizes increased, the number of processed food items available in grocery stores, mini markets, and convenience stores has skyrocketed. Today, the majority of products in grocery stores are non-perishable, highly processed, and are prepackaged foods. These products are heavily marketed not only to adults but to children as well. Convenient, easy to prepare, and inexpensive, these high-calorie products are frequently consumed by millions of families who are economically struggling to meet demands of today's lifestyle. So what exactly is processed food? Processed food are foods that have been chemically changed and made solely from refined ingredients and artificial substances. Processed food is loaded with sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Many studies have shown that sugar can have devastating effects on the metabolism that go way beyond the calorie content. It can lead to insulin resistance, high triglycerides, if I'm saying that correctly, increased levels of harmful cholesterol, and increased fat accumulation in the liver and the abdominal activity. Not surprisingly, sugar consumption is strongly associated with some of the world's leading killers, which includes heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and cancer. Processed food is also engineered for overconsumption. Manufacturers engineer foods so that they can be rewarding or pleasant to the brain and makes our brain want more. Some of these ingredients are artificial, as I said before, meaning they're not actually food, but they're chemicals our body is consuming. These chemicals can lead people to becoming addicted to eating certain types of food, and the food they become addicted to is normally junk food. They've had their brain biochemically hijacked by the intense dopamine release that occurs in the brain when they eat these foods. This is supported by many studies. Sugar and highly rewarding junk foods activate the same areas in the brain as drugs of abuse do, like cocaine. One of the most basic processed food items is processed cheese. Processed cheese was invented in 1911 in Switzerland by Walter Gerber and Fritz Settler of Gerber & Co., who melted Swiss cheese using sodium citrate and infusing salt to produce a smooth, homogeneous product. A few years later, in the United States, the development of cheese was brought back by J.L. Kraft in 1916 when he preserved natural cheese in cans by heating and mixing it in order to increase its shelf life. The development of processed cheese with the use of phosphate-based infusing salts in the United States can be attributed to J.L. Kraft and the workers of the Phoenix Cheese Company. Today, to make processed cheese, the natural cheese is selected based on age, pH level, and flavor, and then the appropriate and fulminating salts is selected. Next, the preservative, coloring agents, flavoring agents, and water is added, and the cheese is heated and mixed with ingredients. The cheese is then packaged and cooled and stored to send off to grocery stores. Another popular processed food item is potato chips. Many people know this story, but the potato chip was actually invented in 1853 by a chef named George Crumb at a restaurant called Moon's Lake House in Saratoga Springs, New York. Crumb sarcastically shaved a potato after a customer complained how his potato/fries were too fat, or fat/thick. Surprisingly, the shaved potato was a hit and the potato chips were invented. Today, potatoes are fried in either corn oil, cottonseed oil, or blended vegetable oils. The antioxidant agent is then added to the oil to prevent radicity. To further ensure purification, the oil is then passed through a filtration system daily. Salt and other flavoring ingredients such as powdered sour cream and onion or barbecue flavored are purchased from outside sources. Flake salt is used rather than crystal salt and for potato chips. Some manufacturers treat potatoes with chemicals such as phosphoric acid, citric acid, hydrochloric acid, or calcium chloride to reduce sugar level and to thus improve the product's color. Some of the most popular food items in the world are processed. Chicken, cheese, milk, eggs, and bread are the most common food items in every country in the world. They are the basis to cooking meals and are an active ingredient into a lot of foods. However, each country around the world has different cultures, and the culture of food in a country is something that also defines it. In countries such as Spain, Greece, southern Italy, and Morocco, their diets consist of the Mediterranean. It's called the Mediterranean diet and has lots of olive oil, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, whole grains, and fish, but very little dairy and meat. Food habits and health in the US, Northern Europe, Southern Europe, and Japan are known to eat food that increase high blood cholesterol, which increases the risk of heart disease. Foods such as red meat are more consumed in these countries, and the mass consumption of red meat increases the risk for heart disease. However, some countries, mostly third world countries, suffer from malnutrition, which is the lack of proper nutrition caused by not having enough to eat, not eating enough of the right things, or being unable to eat the food that one does eat. Most major food and nutrition crises do not occur because of lack of food, but rather because the people are too poor to obtain the food. Non-availability in food markets, difficult access to markets due to lack of transportation, and insignificant financial resources are all factors contributing to the food insecurity of most vulnerable populations. Certain illnesses and infections, such as tuberculosis, measles, and diarrhea, are directly linked to one of the most underlying causes of malnutrition. A combination of disease and malnutrition weakens the metabolism, creating a vicious cycle of infection and undernourishment, leading to vulnerability to illnesses. HIV and AIDS have become a leading cause of malnutrition in developing countries. A child infected with HIV is more vulnerable to malnutrition than a healthy child. Conflicts have direct impact to food security, drastically compromising access to food. Some countries are often forced to leave as violence increases, and people uprooted by conflict lose access to their farms, businesses, and other means of local food production and markets. Abandoned fields and farms no longer provide food to broader distribution circuits. As a result, food suppliers to distributors may be cut off, and many populations dependent on them may be unable to obtain significant food. Malnutrition is directly and indirectly responsible for half the deaths worldwide for children under the age of 5 years old. Hunger and malnutrition is significant in our society because it is leading to more malnutritious countries and causing even more deaths. Next, I will talk about food safety. Food safety is a worldwide issue affecting millions of people who suffer from diseases caused by contaminated food. The World Health Organization calls it one of the most widespread health problems and important cause of reduced economic productivity. According to the CDC, and for those who don't know what the CDC is the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, about 1 out of 6 Americans, which is around 48 million people, get sick each year from foodborne illnesses. The CDC also estimates that another 128,000 Americans are hospitalized and 3,000 people die from foodborne illnesses each year. Safety measures and risk indicators are often regulated by different government agencies. The United States Department of Agriculture, also known as the USDA, and the Food Safety Inspection Service, also known as the FSIS, regulates meat and poultry. The United States Department of Commerce regulates voluntary water foods inspections, and the United States Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA, regulates all other foods and drug categories. The processing of meat and fresh produce are primary opportunities of contamination of food if the right handling techniques are not used. The best way to prevent contamination is to make sure that the work area is clean and to limit the contact with food with other substances, such as chemical and especially water exposure. Food safety is such a big social issue in public health. Food safety is government regulated, meaning the FDA basically determines whether we will be okay eating certain foods. Sometimes they don't catch something and it affects millions of people. For example, romaine lettuce was recalled earlier this year due to bacterial E. coli being found. This could affect millions of people, and if the FDA overlooks something, a lot of people in society could become ill.